Hi, I'm Simon Mannering, and I'm here at the University of Oregon with Rishad, and we've had the chance over the last few days to spend some time with some students. And while we had a moment, we thought it might be valuable to sit down and talk about our different perspectives on the future of the advertising and marketing industry. Now, Rishad is on the board of the company that oversees all the digital assets and media assets for Publicis, which is one of the largest advertising holding companies in the world. At the same time, he was involved in the acquisition of Razorfish, which is one of the country's leading digital shops. So he's really well positioned to give us a big agency corporate view of the future of the industry. At the same time, I'm somebody who's more of a random electron that's moving around between brands, whether they're talent companies, whether they're direct clients, whether they're production companies, whether they're non-profits. And also I come from a more of a purely creative perspective, having been an advertising copywriter. So I thought we'd just bounce backwards and forwards with a few questions as to how we think the future might play out. So Rishad, firstly, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and then we'll fire away with questions.
Sure. I've been working in the advertising and marketing business for 27 years. I began at Leo Burnett, and I still remain in the overall family that bought Leo Burnett, which is Publicis. And I currently do three different things. One is I run a small unit called Denu, which is an innovations unit, which focuses on things like new ways to instigate and invent forms of creativity. Secondly, I am on the board of directors of a sub-holding company called Viveki, which oversees all the digital and media assets of Publicis, which includes Stockcom MediaVest, Zenith Optomedia, and Razorfish and Digitas, as well as Denu. And then also I spend some time on outside board of directors and board of advisors, keeping up with what's going on in the entrepreneurial world.
So I guess I'll start the ball rolling. If there are any key indicators from your vantage point on top of very large, powerful organizations, any indications of what the future might look like, where would you first start?
I would say widely what we are seeing is the future is going to be increasingly global, increasingly digital, and increasingly one where people get more and more power and access through technology to information. On a smaller lens, we see move towards mobility, to social, and to real-time streaming. And finally, a massive challenge for all of us, both our own organization and importantly our clients, what are some of the new ways to organize, attract and retain talent and market in ways that are found both to be relevant and to resonate with people.
One of the other things we talked about in the last couple of days is the shift from social media to mobile community. And in my mind, increasingly, where you are will define who you are. In the sense that, in as much as we can share everything so freely right now, soon our mobile phones, our smartphones, will be the hub of all our communications. And then suddenly, whether we're in the office, whether we're at the beach, whether we're at our friend's house or outside the movies, will have a huge impact on the type of information we share and the type of information we absorb or choose to listen to on behalf of brands. So I wondered, Rishad, what do you think about this idea that where you are will define who you are?
I think where you are will play an increasingly bigger and bigger role in defining who you are and what you are interested in, particularly for marketers. And that is because mobility is where real time and social come together. And you have companies like Foursquare and a lot of others that are starting to leverage that. What it does mean for a marketer is to provide just-in-time utilities and services rather than advertising, because you are open for certain things at a particular stage of time, and that time increasingly will be where you are located.
Right. I think one other shift that has been very encouraging in the last year, and I've experienced this working both with non-profits and doing CSR work for different brands, is that increasingly brands are taking ownership of their role in social transformation. And if you think back to 5-10 years ago when you'd see someone walking down the street and they would be head to toe covered in logos of Fendi or Gucci, you were effectively a mobile billboard for those brands, and those brands were by and large talking about themselves. But as CSR becomes more and more important, and sustainability of capitalism, of the economy, of the world at large in terms of the environment becomes more and more important, I think people increasingly will become mobile billboards for the values that brands stand for. So you may look at somebody and say that they're Apple, Google, Nike, but soon I imagine you'll look at them and say they're conscious of the environment, they're very much focused on women's rights, and they're into education for children, and I find that very heartening. What do you think, Rishad?
I believe you also right there, and you're going to see much more of a person's social consciousness as well as their particular interests in the world sort of reflect themselves with the brands and companies that they associate with, which is one of the reasons why a lot of the smart companies today, increasingly at senior levels, are answering questions like, what is the purpose of our company? What value do we add? What are our plans with regard to things like sustainability? What are our plans with regard to health and to education? But most importantly, let us make sure as an organization the gap between what we say and what we do becomes one that there is no gap.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Rishad. And we had a fantastic time here at the University of Oregon. The students were so energizing for us as well, and they made us feel both old and energized at the same time. And hope it's useful. Thanks.